Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, the show that tries to make the world safe for ADHDers. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist, which means I do brains, and a parent of an ADHD adult. And I have all kinds of in-laws and such that are diagnosed and being treated for ADHD. I also am in private practice and have been working with ADHD before it was ADHD, really, at least 40 years. Okay, today, one of the things we know about ADHD is that there are some neurologic differences. That is, the brain's a little different. Okay, mostly the biggies are in the neurotransmitter area, where they either metabolize neurotransmitters faster or produce them slower. It's really unclear. But that has a lot of effects in terms of capabilities, basically. Okay, the biggies are what's called executive functioning, which is just all the things we use to kind of plan and organize are basically executive skills. And that includes a thing called working memory, which is, I usually refer to it as the etch-a-sketch part of memory. That is, this is stuff you want to keep in mind till you get the job done, but you don't want to remember it forever. Sort of like, on your way to the kitchen, would you get me a bag of chips or something? We still have chips, right? I haven't had any in my house in years. Anyway, so the deal with all of these things is that in certain settings, particularly school, and to most occupational areas, the weaknesses in executive functioning cause a lot of difficulties. Now, for instance, if the boss tells you to do A, B, and C, and you come back having done only B and C, you're probably in trouble. So these things, a neurotypical brain picks up kind of because, well, basically school is set up to teach you about organization in at least one way of handling things. Now, the other things need specific instruction, and you need, as the parent, to be aware of this and to know a little bit about how to do it. Okay, I mean, ADHDers have horrible times with time awareness. Okay, they're just not aware of the passage of time, and they don't have really good estimates on how long it's going to take them to do stuff. Like they may think that a 10-page book report, they can do it in a half hour. Surprise. So you need a couple of things in this area. Time awareness, that's one of those things you have to externalize. And that's usually by having clocks everywhere. And kind of clocks that grab attention, not the nice boring kinds of things, but, something, like where the hippo's tail is the thing that tells you the hour or something like that. I mean, you want something that is a grabber for information. So they know how much time has passed. And you got to get them in the habit of actually timing things. And sometimes for that, you can use any variation on a stopwatch. My God, nowadays, a lot of kids, maybe even most kids, I'm not sure, have these handy dandy brain in a little cylinder kind of not cylinder, in a little package called a cell phone. I mean, those things, they have got all the executive functions, but you got to learn to use them. You've got to use them regularly and without really thinking about it, not, making it a big deal out of it, but they've got to be trained on that. And hopefully you're a little better versed in the mechanics of, setting up an alarm on a cell phone and all those things than perhaps I am. I've got all the gadgets, I've got my Apple Watch and my iPad and my iPad Pro and my laptop, and I know how to use about 20, maybe 30% of the capability, but they probably know more. But you need to do that. You need to, have some external thing that lets them know how much time has passed or when they have used up all their time. And they've got to get in the habit, and you've got to get in the habit of helping them to set up, okay, this should take you 40 minutes to do. We're going to set the timer for 40 minutes. And let's see if you can get it done in 40 minutes. Okay, that sounds real simple, but it's a real important thing to make, because a lot of times, people make to-do lists, but they don't set a specific time to do it or a specific length of time to do it. And you really need both of those to be in control of your schedule. Okay, so and you need to teach your child that. Organization, and let's start out with just simple behavioral routines. When they're younger, you need to teach them the bedtime routine. You need to teach them the morning getting up routine. And there's there are a couple of things you can buy. There's one thing called an Easy Daisy, which is kind of brightly colored things, and it's got little magnet things that when you brush your teeth, you move the little marker, and when it's you just keep going, so you can see where you are in your bedtime routine. And ideally, that means you won't have them coming back to the house 3 or 4 times when they're supposed to be going to the bus stop. Anyway, so something like that, something external. I mean, it doesn't have to be an Easy Daisy. I just happen to know the lady who developed it, and it's real helpful. Actually, it's real helpful for all kids, but especially special needs kids of any kind. And that's Easy Daisy. You can sound it out. Anyway, and it's not terribly expensive. I'd have one for each child, and position them so that the littlest one can't get to the next one's chart if it's like in the bathroom or a common place. Anyway, and that's organization for routines. Now, you also have to teach them how to set up to do a big task. Oh, I got to do a book report. Okay, well, let's figure this out. What are the steps to doing a book report? Select a book, or maybe it's assigned, either way. But select a book if it's not assigned. Give a good guesstimate of how long it's going to take to read it. Set aside the appropriate time to read it, and write it down somewhere on some kind of a schedule, whatever you're using. ADHDers are not terribly fond of to-do lists and organizing things that are very linear and logical kind of things. They kind of like bright colors and spontaneous sorts of things, lots of graphics, that kind of stuff. And you might do better developing that on your own, but just so that they can, see what they're supposed to do every day, and then what milestones there are. And you always have to have milestones, something you get to. And that's important, because they won't be able to, it's again, like I said earlier, a to-do list is nice, but you really have to have a specific time when you're going to do it, and a specific length of time you're going to do it, and a completion date, all those things. So with a book report, you've selected a book, or it's been assigned to you. you set aside a certain amount of time to read the book, and then we get to the part about writing the report. And first of all, and the thing ADHD kids don't do real well is they don't see that, oh, this may be a big project, but it's just a bunch of little pieces put together. So you got to teach them to break things down into the little pieces. Okay, the book report. What's in the book report? What do we have to do? Outline? Is it? Ooh, that helps many, many people who struggle if you've got a good outline. And, you've got to have an idea when you have an outline, roughly how many words are you going to want to write for each section. And, that will change as they get older. And hopefully sometime they develop an interest in reading, and that's, then it'll be easier because they will have developed the skills, just to do the basic reading. But anyway, the outline, and I'm sure, depending on the age, that the teacher probably provides some kind of an outline that they're supposed to follow. So get cranking with that. Flush it out a little bit more because you got major heading, then you've got minor headings, and then the grand conclusion. Okay, and we're not going to have to do it all in one time. We're gonna do the outline, then we're going to flesh out the outline, the different pieces of the outline. Then we're going to start writing, say, the first half of the report, and so on, so that without overstressing them, you get things done. And that, like I said, they tend to look at everything as, I got to do a book report, and it's like a month away, and they don't have a book, they haven't done, and they think it's all coming down in one swell foop, one big thing coming at them. So that's that's the basic of the organization thing. Then one of the other things that we have to look at is the things like emotional regulation. Okay, emotional regulation is a big problem with ADHD kids. They're under a lot of stress. They don't exactly fit into the typical school environment. They're being asked to do things that are harder for them than they are for the other kids. But one of the things you can help with is that, first of all, be sensitive to their emotions and recognize, oops, it's been a bad day kind of thing before we have an explosion. Okay. And so your job is to teach, first of all, that they have control over their emotions, and they need to pay attention to those emotions and also learn to control them. Okay, and control can range from taking a walk around the block, doing some breathing exercises, and then ideally, as they get older, you can actually teach them some of the more cognitive ways of handling emotions. Okay, this happened, I got really upset about it, and be a little more specific than upset. What's that mean? Were you angry? Were you scared? Were you depressed? What was the actual specific emotion? And then, is that a reasonable response to what was going on in the environment? And most likely it'll be an exaggerated response. It's not something that everybody would experience that way. You've got to get a little better control, but you don't just say that. You say, okay, do you think that was an appropriate response, or was that a little bit strong? Well, I don't know. Try to get them to recognize when they're overreacting. without guilt or punishment or any of that. That you just, it's matter of fact. Oops, I guess I just overreacted. That's not a huge problem. I can deal with it better later. And and then get them to go through to the last step, which is what would have been a more reasonable response for you to make in this situation. That still lets people know that you're not happy with it, but without blowing up the situation by yelling and screaming or whatever you did that made things worse. Okay, and you can specifically teach that. There are steps to that process. I've basically just outlined them. It's okay, this is my response. And it's helpful if, when they get a little older, if they can actually track that, write it down. It's no big deal, just like 3 columns. What happened? What was my emotional response? What do I think of that response? Was it too strong, too weak, too what? And then what would have been a better response? And actually get so they're doing that regularly. And that's real helpful as they get older, and you can help them get better control that way. Okay? Because, a lot of us go running around. I'm a psychologist. I'm supposed to be aware of all this stuff all the time. But a lot of times, even with myself, I know if I got up every morning and do certain things, I can control how I'm going to feel about the day. I'm going to, be relaxed and calm and ready to take it on. But a lot of times will choose not to do those things. It's too bad. I don't feel like it. I don't know. And then I go, well, I get the grumps all day or something. Then I go, okay, I know I can control this. So let's get on it already. Let's, a big one. I love these gratitude exercises. If you've not heard of those, they're quite popular in positive psychology. Basically, the idea is that at a specific time, either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, or both times, you actually write down 4 or 5 things that you're thankful for, that you're grateful for. And it doesn't have to be award-winning. It can be just something like, I had a really great sandwich for lunch, or had a really good conversation with da-da-da. It doesn't have to be world beaters, but you want to get in the habit of looking for the positive. Okay, that would be helpful to you too, parents, and certainly to the kids, and certainly to any ADHDers out there in the world. You start looking at the good things, okay? Because we're spring-loaded. Our brain is spring-loaded to react to the negative. That's what kept our ancestors alive. But most of us have never been in danger in our entire lives. Basically what you want to do is get so you're training your brain to see the positive a little bit more than always focusing on the negative. It's not like you're, walking into a clearing with your spear and am I going to get eaten? Is there something in here that's going to get me? We don't have that situation. We just, so most of the time we're, okay, I got up. I have a nice house. I have food to eat. I have people who love me. Life's pretty good. I guess I better get up and go to work. Basically, but they're looking to teach your brain to recognize and be grateful for the positive things in your life. The world would be a much better place if we all just did this, I think, but that's editorializing, and I'm really not supposed to do that. Okay, those are the basic guts of all this stuff. And there's tons of material written about all of these areas that I just covered. And I'm juggling. I have some things I need to do in the next few months, actually, in this particular Facebook Live thing. But I may add some more stuff too about skills training. Alrighty, so we will catch you next time. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass. My website is terrygingrassphd.com. You can sign up for my list there. I send some, excuse me, pollen is still around. I send you some things to pay attention to a little bit before this or a little bit after this, and you'll just be one of those people that I routinely keep in touch with, and I would really appreciate that. And I'd also appreciate it if you could ask questions. Tell me areas you'd like me to cover. Those kind of things. This always works a lot better if we have a little bit of a dialogue going. Okay, and again, I will catch you later.